Picture yourself in Italy 20 years from now. Mornings that start slow. A town where the guy at the market knows your order before you say it. Sunday lunches with friends or family visiting from back home that last 3 hours because nobody's in a hurry to leave the table. Your usual aperitivo every day at 5 with the same old friends, still there, still living la dolce vita. Now a different question. Think of the one person who'd drop everything and get on a plane if you called them right now. Got them in your head? How far away do they live from the town you were just picturing? That's the question this video is actually about. That's the dream everyone pictures, but almost nobody actually asks the question that matters. What does it cost to actually get old here? Not the fun stuff, not the wine, the piazzas, the real stuff. Cost of living, healthcare, the regular things that get just a little bit harder as time goes on. What happens if you need more care? What it costs when you're not a healthy 62 years old who moved here. You're the 82 years old who has lived here for the past 20 years and now needs a little bit of help. I've seen the comments. Someone told one of you your healthcare here would cost $5,000 a year. Someone else is convinced it's basically free. They are both wrong, and the truth is more useful than either version. So let's actually go through it. What it costs today and what it will cost later when later actually arrives. Let's clear this up first because it affects everything else. Healthcare in Italy isn't free. It's also nowhere near $5,000 a year. If you become a resident and voluntarily register with the SSN, Italy's National Health Service, the real cost is a minimum of about 2,000 euros per year, scaling up with your income to a cap of roughly 2,800 euros. Not free, not thousands more than that either. That's the number. Hold on to it. Because the more important question isn't what it costs today. It's what happens later. When today's healthy 62 years old becomes tomorrow's 82 years old who needs a little bit more help. That's what the rest of this video is actually about. So before we get to later, let's deal with now. Because you can't plan for aging somewhere you haven't actually budgeted for living. So this is a real monthly budget for a couple in one of the small southern towns like the ones I've covered before, Sulmona, Iglesias, towns like that. Not Rome, not Milan. The kind of place this channel is actually about. You have rent, a comfortable 1 or 2 bedroom in town, walking distance to everything, between 400 to 600 euros a month. Utilities and internet, electricity, gas, water, waste collection, and fiber internet combined, just under 200 euros a month. Groceries for 2, cooking at home, shopping local markets, between 350 and 500 euros a month. Local transport if you're not keeping a car full time, 40 to 70 euros a month. Healthcare, and here's the number from the top of the video in context. Voluntary SSN registration, roughly 165 to 230 euros a month, depending on income. Then you have dining out, entertainment, the aperitivo at 5, between 2 and 350 euros a month. Add it up, and a couple can live well, not scraping by, but well, in one of these towns for somewhere between 1,600 and 2,200 euros a month. Now, do the math on your own list. Your rent back home, your groceries, what you actually spend right now, this month, where you live today. That's the comparison that actually matters. Not is Italy cheap? Cheap compared to what? compared to your number. Let's get past the abstract idea of Italian healthcare and actually walk through what happens. Number one, getting registered. Once you're a resident, you sign up at your local ASL office. You'll be assigned, or you can choose, a medico di base, your GP. This is your entry point for almost everything, and it's free, or it's included. How do you know who to choose? By the time you actually need to pick one, your new friends and neighbors will already have opinions. Everyone does. You'll hear who's patient, who explains things well, or who to avoid. So like I said, you either get assigned one nearby, or in most towns, you can request a specific one if there's availability. You book an appointment, or in a lot of smaller towns, you just show up during their posted office hours. It's much less formal than the American system in a good way. Finding a specialist. Here's where it works differently than you might think. Your medico di base refers you. You don't just call a specialist office directly. From there, wait times through the public system typically run 2 to 8 weeks, though it varies by region and speciality. And this is where I would love some of you residents to comment about wait times in your local area. Helps a lot for everyone to get the big picture. When you're seen, you pay a small copay, a ticket, usually 15 to 46 euros depending on the visit. And if the wait time matters, if this is something you don't want to sit on, there is a private option running alongside the public one. Private specialist visits cost more out of pocket, but private annual coverage plans run roughly 800 to 1200 euros a year and get you seen dramatically faster, often within days. A lot of residents use both. SSN for ongoing care, private care, speed matters. Picture it for a second. Something comes up. A test result you weren't expecting, a pain that won't go away, that moment where you think, okay, what now? Here's what actually happens. First, your GP, not a phone tree, not a triage nurse, an actual person who knows you in person or on the phone. They examine you, and if it's something beyond what they handle, they will write you a referral, an impegnativa. Then, the booking. That referral goes through something called the CUP, a centralized booking system every region runs. You can book by phone, online, through a regional health portal, in person at the ASL office, or, and this genuinely surprises people, sometimes even through your local pharmacy. And if it's urgent, your doctor can make that referral as a priority case. That's not a request, it's a real classification that puts you in the faster queue, often within 10 to 30 days instead of the standard wait. When you're seen, you pay the ticket, the small copay, 15 to 46 euros, depending on the visit. Then imaging, if you needed a diagnosis, a treatment plan, same deal. Now, notice everything that didn't happen in that story. Nobody asked if your specialist was in network. Nobody argued with an insurance company about whether a test was medically necessary. Nobody sent you a bill 3 months later that didn't match what you were told beforehand. Is it instant? No. Is it fast as an American with a great private insurance and a fat wallet? Sometimes not, but it's not a maze either. It's a path, and if speed ever really matters, the private option is right there the whole time, running in parallel. Often the same doctors, just faster, for a few hundred euros instead of thousands. That's not nothing to think about 20 years from now. That's actually one less thing to think about. Everything so far, the GP, the referral, the CUP system, that's how healthcare works today while you're healthy. There is a bigger question underneath that. What happens later? What does real help actually cost? A homemade? A full-time care? Does your American will hold up here? What's Italy's version of a living will? What about Medicare if you ever move back? I put the full answer into a book, Healthcare and Aging in Italy. 18 chapters, every number checked against official sources, home care and long-term care costs compared directly to the US, wills, Medicare, and the conversation everybody is afraid to have with their kids, plus planning checklist by age so you know what to focus on at 65 versus 85. Link in the description and pinned in the comments, or you can follow the QR code. Alright, let's keep going. You know the thought? The one that shows up at 2 a.m. sometimes, not because anything's wrong, just because it crosses your mind. What if I need help and the people I call aren't close enough to just show up? Let's actually answer that instead of just carrying it around unanswered. If you need help at home, someone to help with daily tasks, meals, mobility, companionship, that's a badante, a live-in caregiver, fully legal, employed under Italian labor law. All in, including the room, board, and mandatory benefits, roughly 1,400 euros a month. In the US, that same level of in-home care runs around $6,000 a month or more. If you need more than that, a full nursing level care, the kind of facility provides, that's an RSA. A private RSA in Italy runs 2,500 to 4,500 euros a month. If you qualify for a subsidized SSN affiliate bed, your actual out-of-pocket cost can drop to somewhere around 1,000 to 1,900 euros a month. Here's a number that surprised me when I looked it up. In the US, roughly 1 in 4 adults over 65 is considered socially isolated. Not lonely in a passing way, actually cut off from regular human contact. That's not a small statistic. That's tens of millions of people. So think about your actual street right now back home. Would your neighbors notice if your lights didn't come on for 3 days? Now, picture the town we've been talking about this whole video. You know that bar you get your coffee every morning? How long before the barista noticed you haven't come in? Or how many times a day do you talk to your neighbor next door? I'm not gonna tell you this happens automatically. Moving somewhere doesn't hand you a community. You still have to show up, learn a little of the language, become a regular somewhere. It's earned, not given. But the structure for it to happen is very different here. Small town Italian life runs on people noticing each other. It's not a value statement. It's just how culture works day to day. And if you want to build it faster, local parishes, expat and relocation groups, hobby clubs, language exchanges, every town has some version of these. And they exist specifically for people trying to put down roots. In Italy, you don't get old alone. The community carries some of that weight with you. That's not a guarantee, it's an option. One that takes a little effort and pays you back for it. There is a version of this planning that has nothing to do with today and everything to do with making sure future you isn't stuck scrambling. Your will. If you become a resident, Italy has something called forced heirship. Rules that reserve part of your estate for close family, regardless of what your will says. There's a real tool for this. Under EU law, you can explicitly state in your will that the law of your US state should govern your estate instead of the Italian law. One sentence, decided now while you're healthy and thinking clearly, not something your family has to untangle later. Your living will, Italy actually has a real legal binding version of this called DAT. In place since 2018, this is not a suggestion, doctors can't ignore it, it is binding. You need to understand that a document you wrote in English back home isn't something an Italian hospital is set up to recognize in an emergency. The safer move is executing an actual DAT once you're there so it's ready for you if you ever need it. That stands for Disposizioni Anticipate di Trattamento, literally Advanced Treatment Directives in Italian. You also see it called Biotestamento informally, translated Biotestament or Living Will, which is the more commonly used everyday term. And now, the question some of you have been waiting for me to actually address. What if things ever got hard? Really hard? Is the honest answer that you'd want to be near your kids? If it is, hear this clearly. That is not a plan failing. That's just knowing yourself, and you can build that option in right now while you're healthy enough to choose it. One concrete piece of this, Medicare Plan B. It won't cover anything while you're in Italy. But if you drop it and want to come back later, you face a permanent penalty, extra cost for life, plus a real gap before coverage restarts. Many people keep paying that premium the whole time, specifically so the door home stays open, penalty free, whenever they need to walk through it. You might also want to keep a US mailing address active. Keep that door easy to walk through. None of this is about expecting the worst. It's about answering the 2 a.m. question once, clearly, and having a good night's sleep. One more thing, and it's not paperwork. It could be actually harder than paperwork. Remember that person from the beginning of the video? The one who dropped everything and get on a plane? Have you actually told them the plan? I'm not talking about the version where you just say, we're moving to Italy, and they say, that's amazing. I'm talking about the real version. What happens if you need help? What you've decided about your will? Where the documents are? What you'd actually want if it came to it? Here's why this matters more than it sounds like it does. Your kids are probably already carrying some version of this worry quietly, whether you've talked about it or not. Distance makes people's imagination run further, not less. A real conversation, even an uncomfortable one, usually makes it smaller for both of you, not bigger. You don't need to make it heavy. It can be one conversation, maybe over a phone call. Actually better in person. And it should go like this. Here's the plan if I ever need help. Here's where the will is. Here's who to call first. If things get really bad, I'll probably come back. That's why I'm keeping my Medicare Plan B active. I don't expect to need any of this for a long time, but I wanted you to know and not find out. That's it. That's the whole thing. And it's probably the single most reassuring 5 minutes you can give them and yourself. Let's go back to where we started. 20 years from now, slow mornings, the market, Sunday lunch that runs 3 hours, your aperitivo at 5. Remember that? That part of the dream is real. I'm not walking back on that. But now, you also know the rest of it. What it actually costs today, and what changes if you need more help later. The fact that you're not choosing between Italy and your family, you can build a real bridge back and keep it open the whole time. I made this video because I don't think anyone talks about this part honestly. Everyone shows you beautiful Italy, and we all know Italy is beautiful, but almost no one sits with you in the harder questions. I wanted to. One more thing before you go. If videos like this one actually help you, if they make the whole thing feel a little more real, a little more assuring, a little less scary, I opened this channel for memberships, starting at only $5 a month. It's just a way to support what I'm building here if you want. No pressure either way. Thanks for watching, and whatever 20 years from now looks like for you, I hope it's exactly what you're picturing. If you want to find out about some amazing towns that have real healthcare and are worth retiring to, watch this next video.